That is my 4-foot rainbow tank. I'm absolutely loving this tank. It's exactly what I was looking to achieve when I set the tank up. One of the things with having a dirted substrate is it's great for heavy root feeders, which the heavy root feeding plants are my favourite type of plants, like the crenums, the Amazon swords, the ponticatons and the dwarf lily bulbs, crypts, everything like that. So I absolutely love all them plants. So to put them in a nutrient rich substrate, which they love, was really a no-brainer for me. And the likes of Sarge and Val, they love it as well. So I'm not trying to achieve anything that goes against the grain. I've provided what my favourite plants need and put them in the ideal environment for them. The rainbow fish doing really well. They're quite skittish, they don't come out very much, but there's 6 in here, 4 of them will come out. They swim around, but they tend to stay in the corners, and when I come in the room they'll sit in the corner and watch me. And it's the first fish that I bought for a while. I haven't had an agenda for. They're just here just because I want them to be here. It's really interesting watching them swim around, and they kind of dance to each other and bow to each other. It's really interesting behaviours. And although overall I'm really happy with this tank, there's a couple of things that I'm not too happy with. For example, the Sarge at the front I ordered, the dwarf Sarge, it was listed as dwarf Sarge, and I bought it, and I bought quite a lot of it. I bought 50 plants to fill out that corner, but that doesn't look like dwarf Sarge to me. That looks like normal Sarge. I feel like it's too tall to be dwarf Sarge. I can prune it and keep it in check, but ultimately I wanted dwarf Sarge, so that's a bit of a disappointment. And also I'm starting to think about doing away with duckweed. First of all, I've got this tank and there's no light on this tank yet. It's empty, and all I've done is put a filter in it and water, and I've been throwing fish food in every time I come in to feed the fish. I just throw a little bit of fish food in just to cycle it so the tank's ready and it's here. But what I'm thinking of doing is cleaning up, getting a light for it, dirting it, capping it, and planting some plants in here. And then I'm considering getting some dwarf Precox rainbows. I think that would be cool, but I'm thinking of using maybe slightly different plants, adding to my collection of plants. If you've got any recommendations of plants, I'd be interested. Then I've got this tank. I just added all my spare plants to it, and after setting up the Walstad tank, there's plants in here that I didn't use in the tank. There's bits of Rotala, there's a couple of different hygrophilias, there's a pogo stem and stellatus octopus. There's a few bits and pieces. There's Java fern I've had in here. I think I had about 4 leaves to start with. I've had it for about 2 years now, maybe even 3, but it's doing quite well. There's some Val, there's some Bacopa. It's all different stuff, but I'm thinking of taking all this out and then just setting it up as a bare tank. I've got the shrimp. I haven't decided what I want to do with them, to be honest. Shrimp don't get me excited, I'll be honest, they just don't. I'll tell you one thing I have seen, which I think is cool, I'm finding really fascinating, is here and here one of the hygrophilea. It's grown leaves out of the surface, and then here and here we've got Bacopa coming out the top, and over there, and the Bacopa coming out is bright red, and then the hygrophilea is coming out and it's got different shaped leaves. So to me that's really cool. Like, I think that'd be interesting to replicate in a different tank, maybe the Precox rainbows. And this tank here, there's no light on it for a few hours yet, but I just want to touch on it quickly. What I'm thinking of doing is getting some trays, putting some dirt in and some gravel, and planting some dwarf Sarge in it, throwing it in this tank and letting it grow out. I'm kind of using this tank as kind of a holding tank so I can play with all the other tanks, but eventually I want to set this up as a dirted tank or a planted tank of some sort. I want to get all my tanks planted properly, not just bits of pieces in them. I want them to look like proper display tanks. Which brings me back to this tank. What I was thinking of doing is completely emptying it, keeping it cycled, maybe putting something in there to keep it cycled, something I can feed, and then getting some sort of boxes, maybe breeder boxes, and then putting spawning mops in with the rainbows, and then I can take them out, put the spawning mops in the breeder boxes and spawning some baby rainbows and growing them out. I think that would be a cool project. Then there's this tank, and it's a 5-foot beast, and I just don't feel like I've utilised it properly since I've had it, and I want to do something with it. At the moment it's Limnophilia cecifolia in there, which I'm really interested in keeping, and I like the way that's doing. There's the Rotala rotundifolia and the Ludwigia repens in this area that's growing, I've just dumped a load of Java fern in that I was given, I've told you in previous videos. A lot of it's not looking too good, but it's throwing out tons and tons of baby Java fern, so maybe, I'm thinking of maybe putting a piece of driftwood in here, and because it's all epiphytes, there's, apart from the ones I've discussed, there's tons of Java fern. There's two different types, there's the narrow leaf and there's the normal leaf. And then I've got Bucephalandras in here, I've got 3 different types of Anubis in here, so there's like 6 different types of epiphytes in here. And because of the size of the tank, I was thinking this tank could house my dream of getting a Crenum natans. But what I'd have to do is dirt the tank. I don't know how I'd do it, to be honest. Like, this plays on my mind all the time. I don't know whether to do like a central island and like have a big piece of driftwood and like stems and swords and crypts at the back, because anyone who knows me knows my style of plants is big leaf plants, like heavy root feeders, rosettes, bulbs and epiphytes. But epiphytes don't really do well in a new dated tank when all the nutrients are through the roof. They get algae on the leaves. You want the tank to settle down a bit before you put the epiphytes in, so we can move them around. But I was thinking of doing like a nice display planted tank. It's 5 feet. I can never do it any justice on camera, but I'm just thinking with the width of this tank, I could get me Crenum natans in here. I can maybe put a few different types of rainbows in here or something else, but there's a few different types of rainbows like I'd be really interested in keeping. Like, I've really got the bug for rainbows. I've been looking at different types. I've seen reds and blues and yellows. There's the Parkinsoni, a different type from the Bosmoni. Obviously, I've talked about the Praecox, the dwarf rainbows. I've got Bosmoni rainbows, and I've just got the bug for it, and they tie in with what I'm doing well, so I kind of want to do more of that. They tie in amazingly with what I want to do. I want to do tanks that are dated, so heavy root feeding, rosette style plants. The heavy root feeders, they're my favourite type of plants, the big leaf plants. So the heavy planted tanks tie in well with rainbow fish, so it all kind of ties in well, and it just gives me something where everything's aiming in the right direction. And then I could do a few breeding projects with the rainbows. It's all boxes ticked for me, to be honest. Yeah, but with this tank, what I was thinking of doing is doing something slightly different, doing it like a dated Walstad style. The Walstads I've done at the moment, they're like 100% function and no form, and I want to kind of toy with scaping a Walstad, kind of. I understand that you want as much as your surface for planting as possible, which means limited space of rocks, but wood can minimally touch the scape, the substrate. So you could have all your epiphytes up in the air on wood, just a couple of little pieces of contact with the dirt, and then you can plant everything in the dirt. So I was thinking of getting some nice rarer sorts, like I've got the Ocelot, I've got the Rubrun, there's a few other reds, and there's some variegated ones, and I think that'd be cool. And there's also a few different types of rainbows I'd like to try my hand at, and what I was thinking of doing is I could keep them all in one display tank and then separate a breeding pair out, breed them, raise the fry, and put the parents back in the display tank.